I am 81 years old, and 3 months ago I did the one thing society tells a father he should never do. I looked at my grown children, people I raised, people I bled for, and I told them, don't call me for help ever again. Not for money, not for a place to stay, and not to fix the messes you made. Most people my age are spending their final years being a safety net, a free babysitter, or a silent ATM. They call it being a good parent. I call it a slow suicide of the spirit. If you think I'm a monster, stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to tell you is a truth that most parents are too afraid to admit, and most adult children are too entitled to hear. I stopped helping my children not because I stopped loving them, but because I realized that my help was the very thing killing their potential. At 81, I finally understood that the greatest act of love isn't holding someone up. It's letting them hit the ground hard enough to finally learn how to stand. In America today, we have a crisis of extended adolescence. We have 40-year-olds living like teenagers and 70-year-olds working overtime to fund their children's vacations. I was one of those parents. I thought I was building a legacy. I thought providing a constant cushion was a sign of my success as a provider. But sitting in this chair, watching the sun set on my own life, I realized I wasn't building a legacy. I was building a cage. Every time I paid a bill they couldn't afford, I stole a lesson they needed to learn. Every time I saved the day, I reminded them that they weren't strong enough to save themselves. The breaking point happened on a Tuesday. My son, a man in his late 40s with a career and a family of his own, called me. He didn't ask how my health was. He didn't ask if I needed anything. He called because his credit card was maxed out again and he just needed a bridge until next month. It was the same story I'd heard for 20 years. A different crisis, the same solution. Dad. As I sat there, phone to my ear, looking at my wrinkled skin and feeling the ache in my bones, it hit me. If I died tomorrow, my son wouldn't just be grieving a father, he would be financially devastated. He had no resilience because I had never allowed him to develop it. My kindness had become his weakness. I realized that by being his hero, I had made him a permanent victim. So I did the hardest thing I've ever done. I said, "No, figure it out." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Then came the anger, the accusations. How can you be so selfish? You have the money. You're 81. What are you going to do with it? That was the moment the mask fell off. My children didn't see me as a man. They saw me as a resource. They didn't value my wisdom. They valued my liquidity. And that is a failure of parenting that I had to fix before I ran out of time. You see, at 81, you gain a perspective that younger people simply cannot understand. You see the full arc of a life. You realize that the moments that defined you, the moments that made you a man or a woman of substance, were never the easy moments. They were the moments of scarcity, the moments of, I don't know how I'm going to pay the rent. The moments of, I have to work 2 jobs to survive. Those moments of desperation are where character is forged. By removing the desperation from my children's lives, I had robbed them of their character. I look at my generation, the men who are now in their 80s. We didn't have safety nets. We had grit. We had a sense of duty, but somewhere along the way, we got soft. We wanted our children to have more than we had. We wanted them to have an easier life, and in doing so, we created a generation that is fragile. We traded their strength for their comfort, and now we wonder why they are struggling. Since I cut them off, the dynamics have shifted in ways I never expected. For the first month, there was resentment. My daughter stopped calling. My son sent me cold, formal emails. They tried to use guilt as a weapon. They tried to make me feel like a villain, but I stayed detached. I practiced the authority of my age. I told them, I have fulfilled my duty. I raised you. I schooled you. I gave you the tools. If the house is falling down now, it's because you didn't maintain the foundation. It is no longer my job to swing the hammer. Something interesting happened in the second month. My daughter, who always complained she couldn't afford a better car, suddenly found a way to negotiate a raise at her job. She didn't have a choice. The dad bank was closed. My son started a side business. The urgency of need did more for their productivity in 8 weeks than my help had done in 20 years. This is a hard truth that people don't want to hear. Scarcity is the greatest teacher in the world. When you have no options, you find a way. When you have a safety net, you stay lazy. I had to let my children feel the cold so they would finally learn how to build a fire. If you are a parent listening to this and you are exhausted from carrying the weight of your adult children, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not being mean by stepping back. You are being just. You are giving them back their dignity. Because there is no dignity in a 40-year-old man asking his 80-year-old father for grocery money. There is only shame, hidden under the guise of family support. I am 81 years old. My time is short. I want to spend my remaining days in peace, not in a state of constant anxiety over the poor choices of people who should know better. I have reclaimed my life. I have reclaimed my finances. And most importantly, I have reclaimed the right to be a father instead of a servant. My children are finally starting to grow up. It's painful to watch them struggle, yes. It hurts to see them have to sacrifice things they want. But for the first time in years, when they do call me, we talk about life. We talk about memories. They don't ask for a transfer. They ask for a conversation. They are starting to see me as a person again, not a provider. If you're watching this and you're angry at me, ask yourself why. Is it because you're the child who is still leaning on a parent who is tired? Is it because you're the parent who is too afraid to be disliked? The truth doesn't care about your feelings. The truth is that an oak tree cannot grow in the shadow of a larger tree. It needs the sun. It needs the wind. It needs to fight for its own space. I refused to help my children anymore so that they could finally become the people they were meant to be. It was the last great lesson I had to teach, and even if they never thank me for it, I can die knowing I gave them the only thing that truly matters: the chance to be self-reliant. Legacy isn't about how much you leave behind in a will. It's about who you leave behind in the world. I want to leave behind adults, not dependents. I want to leave behind survivors, not victims. And at 81, I can finally say that my work is done. The door is closed. The bank is empty. My heart is full. Because finally, for the first time in their lives, my children are actually living. If this story touched you, or if it made you angry, tell me why in the comments. Are we helping our children too much? Is the American dream making us weak? I read every comment and I want to hear your perspective. If you found value in this hard truth, subscribe to the channel. We need more voices of experience in a world that has forgotten how to grow up.